Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Healthcare Growth. It's all about how can we conserve all the hard and efforts that we put in building a company, whether you are in the startup phase, have an idea, putting things together, what works, getting your minimum viable product out there, or you're in that shape up phase. You got something going, you just needed to, perhaps the business model is outdated, you need to make sure that it's getting to the right place for the right thing. And then you could be also in a stand-up model. You've been making revenue, things are start getting good, you're found your product market fit, and now it's about, is this the right thing for you to do to really solidify your business model and that workflow? Or you're on the scale up model, which is where PulsePoint Paths are mainly engaged in. It's on, hey, you've been making great success with the team that you had. Now it's about investing back to your company on how do you quickly scale. Even you don't have to do more, you can make more. And then what does that mean, right? You start figuring things out into the next level of performance, like next level of joy that you're creating, next level of impact, and then next level of the people that you really wanted to work with. So today we are focusing on the growth tactics. And then thanks for joining us, Shawna Smith. She is one of our advisors who is our intuitive navigator. Many of you probably have thought about that in your life, in your personal life a lot, but never really thought about how could the gut check, the intuitive, the holistic perspective really need to be carried out into your business. And she is our director of business alignment. Now, we all know you don't sell the product, you actually sell the mission, what you can do for people, where you're going. When people truly buy into your mission, the drive, building trust, then they will spend more time with you. And she has bring in a wealth of experience in the business realm, helping CEOs to really get to the next level, both the personal optimization and business transformation into the next level of success, and really understand how do you define your own success. And it's truly a pivotal place in the healthcare arena. So thanks, Shawna, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here always.
Yes, we definitely can chat a lot of different ideas, different creative thinking, and people in healthcare, especially those who are in an innovative side. It's all about how can we do things better with tools that make life easier for the end users, for the operators, for the clinicians, for the patient, caregiver, whatever not. Now it's when we needed to put a puzzle piece together to scale, seems very tactical and challenging in some way. So I would love for you to dive a little bit into what your experience have been like in the clients that you worked with, and then the clients that PulsePoint have been focusing on. What is that main challenge that you're seeing in the market today? Why are we not being able to scale as effective as we want it to be?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big factors that we're facing right now is that we are living in this world of unlimited possibility and growth. And we're coming from a historically limited model of doing business. And so we don't have a really great model of how to do this. How do we absolutely scale? There's always trends and things that we can look at and go through when we go back in time and look at models that have been successful as they've moved past benchmarks and new milestones. Once you, like the phases you're talking about, to go from the startup and now you're in a new phase and the stand up, to know where you are and what are those potential obstacles, there is a pattern, there is a trend to that we can look at. But when you come into the digital marketing landscape, this is a relatively young market. This is a relatively young way of doing business. And it's not that the same principles don't apply, but it's that it's very, very easy to get distracted by the noise, to get caught up in the new secret and this special plan and this person having the best way to do things. And especially for driven high achievers like most health tech founders are, they've really come through a profession that is catered to that high achiever, people that love to just excel and be the best. And then they're in that field, they've gone through that education, and now they've seen a better way of doing something in that field. And they want to make that impact. They want to innovate something that makes this healthcare field even better and provides better results. And so we're really looking at this special high performance, high achieving individual who wants that fastest, best way, wants the way to success. And how do we preserve for that person the right kinds of advice, advisors, mentors, people who are authentically being successful in their field? Because we can't be an expert at all things, right? If you've come through the health tech journey, you're probably really good at your area, your field, your expertise. You're probably even good at business, doing it in the model up to the point that you've gotten to. But when it comes time to look for the mentors, the partners that will help you, the team, building the right team that will help you through the next phases, that's where we see the number one struggle for a lot of scaling companies is that those are not their areas of expertise. It's easy to get lost in the noise that's out there because everybody's saying, I'm an expert, I've got the secret, follow me. And the reality is the pattern is real, the pattern is true, and it's been there, but it's getting covered up in everybody's redressing of a pattern and path that might not actually be successful for your stage. So it's knowing what stage you're in, knowing what those key points are, and then having those mentors, team members, partners who can really rocket your growth.
Exactly. It's the human capital part. Now, we always think when people are making revenue, making growth, having success, the easiest way to measure things is the financial, the traction, right? The things that we can see, feel, and touch. Now, those are a great way to measure success, but it's a very narrow way to measure success because the numbers, sometimes perhaps you've grown internally. Now you have a more solidified workflow. Now you have the right puzzle pieces in place. So then the next quarter of your growth going to be much easier because now you're not fighting with yourself. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the strategy, all the tools, the AIs, the systems, the backends. But if you didn't have the right people inserting the human piece, you didn't have the right follow-up, you didn't have the right team member to engage with those prospect and clients or referral partners, you're not going anywhere because the trust is still based on the human side. So what most people, especially when these our partners who are in investment firms, they are taking over or they're just trying to help out a business to grow. They have their own advisors. They're really looking at the financial traction, how does a business make sense, whatnot, right? One of the key things most of them are having challenge is the company having the right CEO even? Is the company, even you have the right CEO, have the right high-level decision makers, stakeholders, board members to help them to get to the next level? Because as you're saying, Shawna, we all can be experts, but when they're siloed, you're not going to know everything, right? And then to trying to be able to know everything, that's impossible. That's why in medicine, we all have subspecialty. That's why cardiothoracic surgery, you go through a 5-year basic residency, general surgery, then you have to do another 5-year fellowship. And some people even do additional minimally invasive, whatnot on top of that, right? So every specialty, it does have a meaning to it. So we needed to be honoring people in the work that they're doing and to be able to say, let's step back. We are about moving forward really fast. However, do you have the right culture capital? Do you have the right social capital? Do you have the right human capital? So then, do you want to elaborate more on those elements for us, as how do we even assess those elements? How do we make sure they are the right pieces that we need to pay attention to? And especially as the founders needed to pay attention to when they are feeling like, hey, we're doing the good things, but we're not sure why are we not moving forward as fast as we could.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love PulsePoint Path's approach to this because we have a really great metric system for measuring this, actually, and the things that we take all of the people through to understand, what is truly motivating and driving each individual person in the team. Are they in the right role? Are they at the right capacity? Do they have the right ability to move into that next phase? How can we support those people? Because we know and understand that it's a lot easier to train up and grow up your existing team members than it is to go out and find and train another person. Sometimes that's necessary, obviously, but when we have to do that, that's a huge amount of investment and time to bring in another team member. So we want to do that wisely. And the big thing is to just really know and understand each of our strengths, each of our weaknesses, and to be really honest and clear about that, because the same strengths that get you out of startup or even into the startup, the same strengths that started this vision, that started this passion, that started this business, are not necessarily going to be strengths when it comes to this scaling, when it comes to the really magnifying the impact and reach. So it's important to know and understand, what are your strengths and weaknesses as the founder and the other partners that you're working closely with, and how are those going to show up through each phase. So it's kind of like you think about the rotation of, let's say, a sports team, and the players don't all play in all different. You don't have the quarterback also being a linebacker, right? Like, everybody's specialized in their field, but there are also certain plays where people will get swapped out and you'll have the other quarterback come in because that one's better at this kind of play versus this one being better at that kind of play, right? So you can think of it like that too with your team and the phase that you're going through, to say, okay, there's a natural ebb and flow to business growth and scalability. And there's external focus and internal focus. And you'll find that your business naturally goes through these different phases. And the strengths that help during external focus are very different than the strengths that help during internal focus. So knowing which phase and cycle of business growth and scaling you're in helps you know where to put those key strategic players that you have on your team. For example, I'm the kind of person that is good at strategy long term. I'm good at optimizing. I'm good at making obstacles solutions, right? But if you need something done and executed very quickly, and the plan has already been made and it doesn't need to be optimized, it just needs to be executed, then my overthinking and overanalyzing brain is going to come in and slow down that execution process. So it's all about putting people in the right places and the right spaces and honoring those gifts and strengths, so that you don't necessarily have to completely overhaul your team. You can just say, oh, you are my strategy team, you are my growth team, right? Or just moving parts and pieces around, or calling on different gifts. So if I know, okay, Shawna, we don't need to optimize here, we just need to execute, then I can give very different strategy and advice for that scenario versus, okay, we're in a really foundation building, long-term growing, like we want to know the strategy that's going to go for decades and be successful. It's like, okay, that's a different hat, right? So it's all about that, the strengths and weaknesses, and really getting clear and measuring those things.
Exactly. It's how do we put the right skill set? And sometimes it's that we have the right people, but they're in the wrong role. And sometimes it's that we have the wrong people in the right role. What that also means is people might be doing something really great, but if you put them in something, perhaps they're doing great, but they don't like it. Guess what? When we come to a productivity reel, we call that the demotional side, right? So instead of we should play out in our desire zone, you're putting people in the zone that they're just going to slow down because they're killing their motivation altogether. It's not joyful. It's not fun, right? And then we have two more zones, which is the distraction zone. Means you think you're going to do well. You have this interest, but it's not your skill set base. So then you're going to spend more time on it. And then it actually doesn't create a high quality things that you can do. And then you're wasting your time on the most highly ROI activity that you should be doing. Or the worst thing is us people who do all the things that they feel like is their obligation. If you have to teach someone else to do it, it's going to take them longer, right? And then you just drag the heck out of the whole company. It's not helpful at all. So what that for us, especially in PulsePoint, Shawna does one out of the 4 key peak performance team executive building exercise and assessment is the Genosa map. And so number one, I'll definitely have you talk more about it, is really we have to have all way round alignment and purposeful. When companies are built by initial founder have these ideas, then individually they have a purpose of what it meant for them to be in this society to do the great work. And then they come together saying, hey, we have this similar concept, goals driven, let's come together. But as people morph, if you didn't know your highest purpose and alignment, then you're going nowhere, right? Because you're going to distract yourself and pick up something else instead of building this big company together. So I'll have Shawna dive into more. Now we know you can't, once you start there, what other component? We need to test your skill set, which we use predicted index, right? So just like Shawna saying, there are people who are much more about decision, independent, creative work, variety. Then there are other people who are very detail oriented, get things done and in the right flow. So you cut down the distraction time, right? And they're super productive. And you also need the people who are like the promoters, who's hype people up, keep people motivated, get people in, right? You need these balance. And then you also need the people to put the brake on when it's needed. So you don't drive your company off the freaking cliff, right? And then we have 2 more. It's that individual positive intelligence. What are the sabotaging tendencies you have? There are 10 that's been studied. Why are you working so hard and getting you nowhere? Right? And then why we're using our defensive mechanism like they're helping us, but it's actually creating more anxiety and slowing you down. And then the last piece, which actually we start as the first piece, is called body of 9. That also comes like, well, many people are the same, but do you actually know who you are? How do you set it physically? And where do you draw perception strength from within, and not just all these psychological profile people put together, right? And then you can actually able to say, even Shawna is the same natural number as myself, we're both 9s, but we have very different communication style, and we have a different way to see the cohesiveness, and yeah, it's complementary. So with all that being said, Shawna, I would love for you to give us an overhaul of why is Genosa map such an important thing when people have to think about the highest alignment of that executive decision maker, of that high level decision team and individual co-founders in those positions, and how that would be able to trickle down for the rest of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to understand how and where you are in alignment with your highest purpose, because when we are out of alignment, that is when we invite in a lot of the obstacles and struggles, and that can take the entire team down, right? So if the person leading the company is going through their own existential crisis, it really does affect everybody else in the company, right? So it's very important to make sure that that founder, the CEOs, the chief executive officers are all in alignment. They're helping a mission that's vital to them feeling connected to their purpose on the earth. So that's a big element. But the main thing that we're fighting with is that we are programmed throughout every phase of our life to accept and embrace and actually invite the struggle. So when we're talking to our toddlers and our children, the way that we were raised, the way that we were educated, the patterns that we believe as a general society are all geared towards inviting and just kind of acknowledging and accepting that struggle is part of life. The problem with that is that we are designed inherently for success. So the way that we're motivated, the way that we're driven, the way that our vision works, the way that hope inspires us, the way that we seek and create and connect to inspiration, all of this is geared towards inviting success and being successful and accomplishing the desires that we have in our life. And so you now have these two things kind of at odds with each other. So the Genosa map is meant to be your instruction manual for that ultimate life that you are trying to design, that you're working towards, the one that is deep within you, you know that is meant for you. So it's kind of that instruction manual for your ideal life. And it helps keep that compass pointing in the right direction. You can think of it like the helm of the ship. If you know what direction to point that ship, you'll always get to your destination, even if the storms come, even if, the winds die down, even if there are obstacles on the way, you know what direction you're pointing the ship and you're always going to get there.
Yes, because life always gonna throw us curveballs, right? And even we think this funding is coming, I'm gonna be ready to launch ABC. But until that contract is in, until the money is in your account, it's not there. We have to think clearly. So what's the contingency? And then not get so overwhelmed by things just happening around us. And then a lot of you guys from the founder level CEOs, they create the company because the personal challenges with the disease or their family. And therefore, they still have to be a caregiver for themselves, for their family. And if those coming into play, how do you make sure the business you're running have the right structure that if you need to take time off, whether it's for vacation or taking care of those family individuals, you can still have that clockwork system that keep going and going. And that's why we build business, isn't it? It's not just about impact. It's actually creating a system that you create more jobs, more revenue, more economy, more positive thing within the society and within the community that we're serving. So any last words, Shawna, that you would like to share with other people that you think, hey, we haven't touched in today?
No, I think that you also did a really great job of just summarizing some of these challenges and also to help people know there are solutions here. There are efficient and effective solutions that cut through the noise, that help maximize the resources you've already got at your fingertips, and also can help you just think of some things that are outside of the box that are tried and true patterns when you really look at it. So we're all on this journey together. And we want your success because we do need that innovation in the world. We need to help these systems match the lifestyle that we know is possible for people to be creating and to be living now in this world of abundance.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And definitely everyone, it truly is a journey. It's about enjoying the journey while you're on it. Yes, there's always going to be a destination, and sometimes the destination is movable. Once you achieve that big goal of yours, you're going to think about, wow, okay, this is great. Give yourself that praise, the gratitude of everything that you have created, and also think about how do you continue to move up and move forward. And that's end of the day, that's all we can ask for each other, is that be able to have the flexibility, the freedom, the decision making ability to have the right people with you that you enjoy, to have the time flexibility, to knowing what you can choose to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and then give you the best ROI instead of the, I believe most of people and clients we work with, the struggle always like, I work so hard, I'm putting out this effort, I'm putting out this money, right? Sweat equity and everything else that people so supported me, we didn't go as far as we are, right? And that the shame, that disappointment setting in, instead of how can we enjoy all the success that we have created and what is the next step needed to be, and truly be able to make every step count and enjoyable as you're going through the process. And we're happy to have additional conversation, and we're all about building the right community, the right solution in our space. So go to PulsePointPath.com/chat. I'm happy to have a conversation to see how we can leverage our community for you guys. All right. Until next time, hope everyone has a wonderful day and wonderful rest of your week. All right, so we have these fun little exit outros.
Thank you for listening to HealthTech Growth. If you're a healthcare tech innovator or founder interested in being a featured guest on our show, visit healthtechgrowth.io